Now, a message from the UN.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be Frasco. Don't let them drink whiskey or eat lots of drugs. Let them be doctors and lawyers and such. Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be Frasco. 'Cause they'll never be home, they'll be beaten off alone, even with someone they love. Frasco ain't easy to love, and he smokes lots of weed. He'd rather give you some shrooms than something you actually need. Birkenstocks, sandals, and old Lakers jerseys, and each night begins a new day. If he doesn't text back and he don't die young, he'll probably just crowd surf away. Mamas, don't let your daughters grow up to Dave Frasco. 'Cause he'll cuss at Thanksgiving, smoke pot with grandma, and stink up your whole goddamn house. Mamas, don't let your daughters grow up to Dave Frasco. They'll have lots of sex, get HPV, and blame it on her ex-boyfriend's mouth. It's fucking beautiful.
Wow.
We're doing a podcast now.
Hey, and we're back.
We're just
Andy
bitching.
Frasco. We bitched before you even started.
If that would have been the podcast, we'd be rich. We'd be millionaires.
Hey, Andy Avila is just out here before taking a shower. Andy Frasco's World Saving Podcast. I'm
Hi.
Andy Frasco. How's our heads? How's our minds?
My ADD just flared up there. I got like people in the background.
I got a full house at the Frasco house today. We're recording our record. Let's go.
I noticed Chris is on the record and Floyd
Chris
isn't.
is a good... Oh,
I-
Floyd's a hoe.
What'd he do?
Oh, he's a hoe.
What'd he do? He quit the band?
He didn't quit the band, but he
hoeing?
like hurt his shoulder, and he's telling everyone else he hurt his shoulder, but me. And now he can't make the August tour, and he won't tell me. He's telling everyone else.
Why would he? I don't understand.
What he wants to wait. Okay, before he texts me, at least keep me updated.
What is he, a relief pitcher for the
Fucking
Mets?
asshole. Like,
MRI, you play fucking punk bass. You're supposed to be injured, dumbass.
Anyway,
Pussy.
I'm just so fed up with communication.
Now you're the mad one this week.
Oh man, I'm getting it from all ends of
That
the
was so funny.
circle.
Last week you were like, this is you. Or can we use that? Nick was so negative, and everybody's like, best opening I've heard in a long time. Fuck Floyd. No, I'm just
love
kidding. I
Floyd.
actually like Floyd.
But it's just, I'm just getting into all ends of it.
Yep. What else is going on? What else are you mad at?
Oh, I'm fighting with my girlfriend.
Katie has a girlfriend.
Dude, that's hard too.
I hope she doesn't listen to. I feel like girlfriends shouldn't listen to the podcast.
Oh, she does, and she gets pissed
Or
because I
family
talk
members.
about her. But it's just, it is part me because I don't.
Of course it is. That's how relationships work.
This is how I go.
Here we go.
This is how it goes with me. When I'm working on something, a project, or if I'm on tour, or whatever I'm working on, podcast, I'm in tunnel vision. This is why I kind of feel like I'm a little autistic.
No, you're more like OCD probably or something.
Probably, whatever. Because I don't think about anything else besides
I've been there.
finishing the task ahead
Super
of
annoying
me.
actually to be around you sometimes.
Yeah, because I'm, you'll talk to my conversation when I'm editing a podcast or fucking working on the spreadsheets for the band, and I'm just super dialed in on that.
I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing.
Shout out to Dialed In Gummies, but I'm dialed in. I don't know. This is just who I am.
Yep. You're 35. You're not changing now.
That's why I told her that on the phone yesterday. I'm like, I'm 34
The
years
statue has
old.
been chiseled away. The marble is on the floor around you. The statue of David is done. Okay? There's no more.
I'm in
edits
my
to be
prime.
made.
Now I'm just chipping away.
Prime? No, you're just done. I don't know about prime.
Anyway, we got Andrew Bird on the show today.
Oh, yeah.
Big time guest.
I never really checked him out. I have some friends that are like obsessed with him, though.
Oh, yeah. I did this interview. Well, he's for my sister who's bitch right now.
What? What'd your sister do? I'd rather
Jesus.
hear about that
I'm
than
just
Andrew Bird.
bitching
No,
everywhere.
get into your sister.
My sister
Louisville
is so...
sister?
No, she's sweet. Steph's sweet. But,
San Diego sister?
oh, yeah. She's the reason who I got into music, and she's all jealous of me and my other sister. And I'm like,
why is she being a bitch right now, though? I love family.
because
I love family
she's a
shit.
scientist, and she doesn't think I'm taking the COVID virus seriously.
Oh, she's a liberal cuck.
What am I supposed to do? I work.
Now she's getting mad? Like, we're 3 years...
No. This is just a defense that she doesn't want to hang out with our family.
Oh, that's fair.
You know?
Why didn't she just say, I don't want to hang out with you guys? It'd be a lot more...
That's all you have to
This is
say.
this is like last week when we're like, don't lie. Just
See,
be like,
I
I don't
don't-
want to be around you guys.
Yeah, I don't try to hang out with her. My sister tries to be like, a Buddha and try to glue this whole... Because she's like...
The other one?
Yeah, the one I'm cool with, Steph. She's badass.
What's the other one's name?
Melissa.
Okay.
She just sucks. And she's not, I don't know if it's jealousy or whatever it is.
I doubt she's jealous. She's a doctor.
Well, she's always been jealous of my sister.
Which one? Oh, you only have one sister, two sisters.
Yeah.
Why?
My sisters are 2 years apart, so they went to high school together.
And then you're way after them, right?
Yeah, so
you're like the extra
I'm not even
accident.
in this beef.
Yeah.
But
So they have a lot more...
They had a lot more juice.
Oh, yeah. 2 girls in high school at the same time? That's basically
Yeah.
Vietnam.
Yeah, it's basically...
There's no difference.
So, she's always had one against my sister Steph, and I've always had my sister Steph's back.
That's
And,
the younger... Who's older? Sweet Melissa.
Yeah. And Steph, she's just a nice person,
They're both smart, huh?
Me and Steph relate because we're tunnel vision.
Yeah.
This is why the people who love us are so frustrated with us, because we just go straight into that fucking wormhole.
So one of them's
of
like
work.
really scared of COVID and diseases, and the other one's like licking tabletops and
Yeah.
moving to Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, and she just moved back. She's like, I'm done with Louisville.
Oh, that didn't last that long?
Yeah.
What? Why? Just didn't like it there?
No. She's kind of bougie.
Did they move there for a job?
Yeah, my
How do you just decide to move back? Because I don't.
is this like an okay podcast to just talk about family shit?
Yeah,
I guess so.
it's your podcast.
Yeah, I give you right. My sister's husband, what do they call it? My brother-in-law, I guess?
Yeah. It's called your brother-in-law.
I don't really fuck with him either. He's kind of a douche, but
Yeah, this is awesome.
but I love my sister, so if she loves him,
This is why me and
fuck
my
yeah.
family keep it distant. There's no friction though.
Yeah.
Can't
But,
get friction if you don't rub together. Wait,
he like
gross.
he didn't invent, but he's a really smart guy. He saw that Amazon marketplace had an Epsom salt, didn't have a lot of people selling Epsom salt, so he built this whole Epsom salt company
within there.
within
Amazon?
the e-commerce Amazon, and
just
now he's
raking
just
it?
fucking killing it. They're killing it.
I hate people like that.
Shout out
so
to-
jealous.
Yeah, me too.
I can never
But
have good
I-
ideas.
He supports my sister, and I gotta love him for it.
All my ideas are like, we should go to a G major here.
Right.
It doesn't pay anything.
No.
one cares about chords.
No one cares about songs anymore either.
I know. Songs are dying.
Songs are dying.
It's just TV now.
Anyway, if you're in a band,
God.
Repsy.com.
If you're in a band and you want to go play your sister's wedding,
Oh, God, the music industry is so fucked up right now.
what happened now?
This is
Anything else?
fucked. A lot of people aren't selling tickets. A lot of bands are breaking up. I read
Who
an
broke up?
article that there's a lot of known, like, newer bands taking the risk and going on tour.
Well, yeah, because they have less overhead.
No, they're not going on tour.
Oh, they're not
'cause they're
going- oh.
not want to take the risk.
Well, that's dumb.
Mhm.
Well, they're going to fail. You have to take risks.
Right. So sign in to Repsy.com. Hey, Andy, get in here.
Yeah.
Andy Avila's here,
We need
ladies
some
and gentlemen.
positivity.
We need some
You got
positivity.
any
This
family
is,
members you want to bitch about?
you got any family members you want to bitch about? Give me.
Like I'm about to blow Gerlach right now.
We got Andy Avila, a drummer in the building.
He's from L.A.
Andy, what do I do about the whole relationship thing? What do I need to do?
Listen. Andy doesn't know. And so when you're like in high school and you have a bunch of girlfriends and you fuck up all the time and you do all this dumbass shit because you don't know what you're doing. He's doing that now at 35. So, You're figuring it out.
I'm figuring it out.
And she also needs to realize that shit too. You've never fucking had a girlfriend, really, your whole
No.
fucking life. So
No.
it's a little give and take, man. She's got to figure it out too. You know.
I know.
She's cool. You're cool.
She's cool. You're cool.
You're at that
You're
weird
cool.
3-month stage, you know?
I'm at 7
What?
months.
You've been together for 7 months already?
Right.
No way.
I swear. February.
Holy shit, it's almost August.
We're all surprised.
It's the hump.
The hump.
Just shut up when you're drunk. Stop talking about shit. Yeah.
Or when I'm tired.
Never speak to a woman unless you're fully alert, have coffee, have been eaten already, maybe a little high, on time, maybe you got paid that day. That's when you talk to women. You don't talk to women when you're drunk or tired or at work. Or you
It's
talk
just
to
my personality she's not fucking with right now.
Yeah, that's almost worse.
Because this is just who I am.
I'm not doing anything wrong. She just doesn't like the core person that I am deep down. So I think we can fix this.
No. But I got to talk about, this is who I am. I keep everything open with my fans and my people. And all the new fans that are just here to listen to Andrew Bird. What's up? I'm Andy.
Hi.
How we doing? Nice to meet. Andrew Bird is like a very
serious
songwriter.
He's a
and
genius
he's very
musician,
genius.
too.
This interview was really smart, and it's going to be awesome.
We're going to get off this goddamn you getting broken up with today topic.
All right.
Speaking of Alone, I've been watching Alone, that TV show Alone.
I haven't seen it.
Holy shit, it's the best show ever. Do you know what it is?
No.
Alone is the show where they put 10 survivalists in the middle of nowhere, and like this time it was in Canada, and they're all about 5 miles apart. And you just go out there with a certain amount of tools. You won't take any food with you. You have to build your own shelter, blah, blah. And whoever lasts the longest wins $500,000.
So basically touring.
No, this is way harder than touring. They have to they like starve. Some of them almost starve to death. They get pulled out medically. That's
Yeah, touring.
yeah.
Touring in
And
Europe.
then, dude, like they're getting hunted. There's bears around. They're getting hunted by bears. They're like fucking
yeah.
mountain
I've watched this
lions.
show. It's good.
So good. So I was thinking, oh, well, that's cool, but we should do some other spin-offs, right? Like other game shows. So I have some ideas. Okay,
This is
instead of
bad.
alone, song. It's called song. Force a jam band to write an actual song.
Come on.
It must have. It must
on.
have at least 2 verses, a chorus, a double chorus, and a bridge. No guitar solo allowed. The lyrics must make sense, and if you use the word funk in the lyrics, or the lyrics are about being in a band, you're disqualified.
What do you do all day?
What
do you do all day?
This took me 10 minutes.
What do you do? Are you just thinking about just scenarios of just how people can be tormented?
Yeah, because I've been watching Alone. This took me 10 minutes. I sat down and wrote this in 10 minutes.
just
I'm a
like-
genius. I have a perfect mind. Anyway,
Hold on. Seriously.
Nothing.
Are you okay?
I'm great. This is hilarious. What are you talking about?
You
know what?
hate the jam scene.
No, I love the jam scene. That's why I'm good at making fun of it. You just bitched about your sister and your wife for 20 minutes, and you're calling me an asshole for thinking of fun games. Jesus Christ.
We got a lot of sponsors we need to talk about. We can't be talking about friends right now. We need to be talking about Dialed In Gummies. Dialed In Gummies. Do you know? Let's see if Andy Avila knows the Dialed In Gummies pitch.
I know if you put them in a container in the sun, they melt together, and then you don't know what you're eating. It's a big gamble.
Yeah. When we sometimes if we keep them in my backpack.
Well, it was like 150 degrees, and we left them in the van, and then we took them out, and they were all melted together. And Andy's just like looking at it and just goes, "Good night."
I got really high. Yeah.
How much did you think you ate? 30?
Well, I tried it. I probably ate about 25, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is."
You know why I'm not too worried about you there is because they're very homogenous, which means they spread out the THC equally throughout each gummy. I know that. They get checked for that.
Yeah, but if they get melted together, could you judge like what side?
I don't know.
What side of the gummy has more THC?
No, because they're even. That's like the thing. They get tested for that. You have to pass like a homogeny.
Well,
But
if
they
you,
could be more dense.
That's what I'm saying.
but it was really cool. It felt like a really big gusher.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was fire. So, guys, these promos are horrible today. Colorado. If you're in the Colorado area, buy some Dialed In Gummies. They're the best. What?
My fucking fan.
Oh, yeah.
Dialed in, baby.
Oh, there it is.
They're solventless. Each one's with a specific grower. You ever hit that QR code on there?
Yeah, with the grower.
It tells you who the grower is, about how they got it. I didn't
Andy's here because we're recording records.
I understand that.
We're excited.
I can't wait.
Whoa. Delete that. What a fucking episode. We got to get out of here. It was your turn last week.
Yeah, but I was very generous. You're specifically attacking people that are closest to you in your life. I'm generalizing about bands.
Beats, how we feeling about the new songs?
I really do like them. They're pretty dope.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're dope. Yeah.
Did you change anything off those demos?
We did.
We changed it. We turned it into the band.
I mean, are they the same form and shit?
Yeah, they're the same
Mostly
form, but
the
we
same
changed. We changed a lot
So,
of shit.
yeah, okay.
But I'm excited. Do you feel good about these songs?
Yeah, they're actually really dope. Yeah, the guys that you wrote them with, fucking fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they sound dope.
Yeah. We're at 5 songs done.
No, what studio?
Rocky Mountain Recorders.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's like 90s. You walk in and you just
Super
feel like you're in
90s.
the 90s.
90s?
Yeah.
It feels like you're
But
in
it's
the-
like a super like state-of-the-art studio. It's just like 90s vibe in there.
Yeah.
It was built in the 88 or something like that.
Feels like they did the voiceovers for Home Improvement or something in there.
Yeah.
All right.
South Park.
We got Andrew Bird
Not
on the
doing an
show.
Asian
This
joke,
is
Dave.
do you think this is gonna even make the episode? I'm gonna have to cut a lot of this shit.
To be fair, it's all your fault.
I know. But I
So
just
I
needed
can't
to
take
get
the
it. I
blame.
haven't been able
I tried to lighten thing up with my fictional game show bit, you know?
I know. I just haven't been able to talk about any of this stuff.
I know,
with
but
anybody.
sometimes you don't have to talk about it on camera on a mic.
That's true. Probably shouldn't do it for thousands of people. But anyway, we're gonna have a great week.
Are we?
It's
Yeah,
it's only
I am.
gonna get better.
My week's going great. I've been watching Alone. I made a game show bit.
Let's get Andy motivation.
Yeah, you
Why don't
motivate
you
people.
give people great motivation for the week?
Listen, get up in the morning. When you don't want to take a shower, take a fucking shower. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Wash ass, America.
Wash ass, America.
Get in the fucking studio, write some music,
Yeah.
get off your ass, go on tour, fuck the ticket sales,
Yeah.
get on Repsy.com, get
Yeah.
yourself some dialed in gummies.
Yeah.
Go to bed when you gotta go to bed, and do not talk to your girlfriend when you're hammered. How about that?
All right, we're gonna have a great day. Everything is fine.
I'm definitely.
Everything's fine. Guys, everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna
not.
be great.
Actually, it's not.
You're gonna if you're feeling low right now, things just it's just gonna go up. You can't just keep going down. That's not how life goes. Ups and downs, and
Well.
don't forget that. Andrew Bird, you're up
Sorry about the
next.
opening.
Sorry about the opening.
Sorry about
the-
Andy's family.
sorry. I don't get to see these guys a lot, and I just needed to.
You need
air
to
it out.
vent.
I need to vent.
And he has to do it with 3 ring lights facing him into a microphone.
All right, guys, have a great day.
Bye.
All right, our next interview is sponsored by Fandium. Yes, Fandium is a digital fundraising platform that inspires fans to support nonprofits and engages them with the chances to win virtual and live experiences with their favorite artists and venues, festivals, and creators. They partner with a lot of artists and nonprofits to create fundraising campaigns, and we are giving away a campaign for your guys, your favorite Fish Dicks campaign. Sign up and you could get 2 tickets per night to all 4 Fish shows at Dick's Sporting Goods in Commerce City, Colorado on September 1st through 4th. Damn, this actually looks like a good deal. Early entry to the venue for each night of the show. You could watch Trey comb his hair if you want. Round trip travel to Denver, Colorado, plus a 5-night hotel stay for 2. Damn, this sounds like a perfect night. Transportation to and from the show each night. 1 band signed Fish poster. Dick's merch pack. That's funny. And this contest ends on August 16th. So if you can sign up, go to fandium.com/Frasco and tell my users, yes, my users, you guys, use the bonus code Frasco100 at checkout to earn an extra 100 bonus entries for their donation. It's a good cause. You might as well do it. And you get to see your favorite band, Fish. All right, let's start the interview. Andrew Bird, here we go.
All right, next up on the interview hour, one of my favorite artists of all time, Andrew Bird. Yeah, Chicago's own, baby. I love this interview. I've been wanting to interview him. He was like basically one of my first favorite musicians when I was, I was like 13 or 14. And followed his career ever since, and now I finally get him on the show, and I'm very excited about it. Super smart. He's a violin virtuoso. He's a songwriter. He's an amazing artist, and I know you're going to love this interview. I loved it. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the interview hour, Mr. Andrew Bird. Andrew Bird. Yes. What's up, buddy?
Not much.
How's it going over there? Where are you right now?
In Los Angeles.
Yeah. When did you move to Los Angeles?
About 10 years ago.
From Chicago? Are you from Chicago?
I'm from Chicago, but I was in New York for like 3 years before I moved here.
What do you see in the difference of the music scenes in New York and LA?
In New York, I was not really too in the music scene. But I was having a kid and a bit preoccupied. But in LA, it's pretty vibrant. I think it's, there's a lot of talented people here. I guess, what I learned years ago when I kind of switched from making records in New Orleans and Chicago to coming to LA is that people who are really good at what they do come to LA to get paid.
Yeah, it's true, man. It is.
So, and people work more like 9 to 5 normal schedules and you get stuff done. Like I scrapped a record twice that I made in Nashville and Chicago respectively. And then I came to LA and just knocked it out in 3 weeks. And,
Yeah. What's the difference? Like, what makes you scrap a record in your brain?
Sometimes this is like, maybe my 6th or 7th album of Mysterious Production of Eggs, where I didn't know how I wanted to, I had to teach myself how to make it, and I kept getting off track. I kept drifting off course. And yeah, making records is tricky because I've learned that I need to get in and out quick before I forget who I am.
It's so true.
The more time you spend in the studio, the more you're inclined to kind of drift off course. And it's like, yeah.
What record do you feel like you drift off course the furthest, but you still was able to finish it?
Which one? No, it was probably that one, Mysterious Production of Eggs. The first versions, if you heard them, they're cool, but it's like a suit that doesn't fit right. It just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
The sleeves are a little too long. I don't know. It was a little bit, the musicians I was playing with had very strong tastes, and I'm a kind of an adaptive musician. My ear, so if I'm playing with people that have like a strong stylistic sense, I'll go with them.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I have to clear the room to make sure I'm making what's in my own head.
Right.
Yeah.
And is that harder when you're playing? Because you never really seem to keep the same band. You're always playing with different people. Is it harder to stay on course when you're always playing with new people, or do you like that better?
I think it's good to play with new people. Yeah. I prefer to kind of keep it steady, but it's hard to keep the band together. I mean, it's always been the most important thing is the drummer for me.
Yeah.
Because I can kind of cover almost everything else. But the drums I don't play, and I need to really, work with a great drummer to figure it out.
Yeah, especially with all the looping and stuff you do live and stuff.
Yeah. That's tricky. That takes a special drummer to be cool with that. And sometimes I'll just turn the loop off if it's just not, if it feels like we're trying too hard, but the looping is how I conceive of the music. And it tells the band how it keeps the music strange and unusual.
Yeah.
You know, if it was just a 4-piece band, everything would get kind of normalized, but the loop shows the whole band, like what's going on in my head.
Right.
And it's, then the question is like, you know, even on this new album, like the song will start with a drum fill or a drum pattern, but really there was a loop there first.
Right.
It was showing everybody how I'm feeling the tune. And then I decide whether to keep it in there. Cause the loop, recording with a loop is like, it chews up a lot of sonic space that maybe you'd rather just hear the purity of the band playing together. But it's the key to the loop is like, it's like a quick and dirty demo of like what's going on in my head for the band.
Right. And then what if, so when you're thinking about, you know, it's like you're basically a one-man show in a sense of hearing all these different sounds in your head. And then let's say now going into like tour practice and like, how hard is it to get the band hip to what's going on in your head? Do you get frustrated or do you like kind of let the live song be different than the album song?
I tend to let the live song be different. I don't, you know, first of all, the albums these days that I make are pretty live. There's like very few overdubs and the vocals are live. So there's not like, oh man, how are we going to, you know, trigger that weird thing that happens here in the song.
Yeah.
Or how many, you know, pairs of hands do we have to like make this thing happen? That's kind of boring to me.
Yeah.
Recreating an album. So mostly I play with like heavy jazz players that understand a good, concise pop song, you know, so they can roll with, you know, it being loose and it going in different directions. I think that's interesting. My audience is used to that. The songs don't necessarily sound like the album and they appreciate that, I think. So,
yeah. I mean, I've been a fan of you, God, forever. And you're one of my favorite songwriters to date. And the uniqueness of how many records you have and stuff. What is there pressure to play older stuff when you're on an album circuit, or do you not give a shit about that? Do you play whatever you want, or?
I pretty much play whatever I want, but I know there's some tunes that have proven themselves to get me to that place that feels like a connection with the audience. So I know it's not because the tunes were hits per se. It's because they became staples of the live set because they can adapt to how I feel that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I got to play this song today. It's like a tune like Why or Capsized or Three White Horses always works.
Yeah.
Because it's just a blueprint. And whatever mood anyone's in when we step on stage, that song will adapt to it, you know?
Yeah, totally. And it's got to be the same when you're going into a different crowd too. You know, maybe some towns are sleepier than others and don't really care as much. Or do you even think about that? You don't even, I feel like you're a dude, don't even give a shit about that. You just do your own thing, bro.
I just am lucky. I think it comes from, you know, major success being kind of elusive for the first 15 years of my career, you know?
Explain that
so
to me.
There was we just, you know, it was very DIY. I went through several conversion vans. We just toured around the country playing dive bars for a good 12 years. And I was pretty much cool with that. And then I went solo. I was just touring by myself. And that's when suddenly people started showing up, like a sort of critical mass thing started happening that I wasn't really prepared for. And I was like, oh crap, people are finally coming. And that long runway of my 20s and early 30s of just hitting the pavement, and trying to win over, you know, a crowd in Chattanooga, you know, and then coming back to Chattanooga like 6 months later and like trying to build that crowd.
Right.
You're kind of trying to win over one person at a time. So, yeah.
Did you like that? Did you like how your journey was, or did you wish it was different?
I have to say it was tough, but success would always come just in the nick of time before I couldn't take it anymore.
Give me the worst moment.
Oh, like being in a motel, like I had a large band before I went solo, and 6 of us in a Motel 6 in like Nebraska. Like my drummer was sleeping on the console of the TV. Like we're just scattered around, all of us. Like, and like, we would stop at rest areas to pick up the discount motel. Oh, like we would like from the stage. This is humiliating. We would do a public address, a PA announcement that we needed a place to stay that night. And then we'd screen people who came up to us after the show to see if they're murderers or meth heads,
What was the screening process like? What were the questions you were asking to get a little psychology in it?
We just all kind of scatter around the room, and then we'd like interview people and then kind of come and confer about who we thought was the most solid and the least scary. And yeah, you'd wake up with like cat litter stuck to your face, it was fun. It was like an adventure for a while.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I went solo and people started showing up, but then I was so used to the DIY thing that I didn't scale up very quick.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, this is a flash in the pan. This is going to go away any minute. So I really should have had a tour manager and the biggest mistake I made was playing Primavera Sound Festival in Barcelona solo with the Jesus Lizard playing right next to me. And I was like, oh, that was a mistake. Like, that was the year my buddy Valentine was playing, in like a concrete festival grounds. And it was like the loudest thing I'd ever experienced. I almost fainted. But anyway, and I'm just like violin guy up there by myself trying to get a bunch of Spanish teenagers to,
do the thing.
They're trying to party to me, but it's like, I was at a disadvantage that I couldn't really get past. But I was such a road warrior. Like I would, even if my band, they'd say, oh, I can only do 2.5 weeks. And then, so they'd go home wherever we were in the world. And I'd just keep going.
Yeah.
Like one night would be with a band and the next night would be solo, no matter what, whether I was playing a festival or it was just, I was so committed to that ethos of just do it yourself and be scrappy.
Yeah.
I took it a little too far. Yeah.
Well, or it made you who you are. I mean, now you could play with everyone, play by yourself and do your thing,
Yeah. I mean, I guess that going back to what you're saying about whether I feel I need to play certain old songs and or if I don't know. It's I feel, when I get on stage, I do feel a responsibility to the audience not to like be too indulgent and, but at the same time, I have earned the right to kind of do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I feel like.
I'm going to clap to that. Let's fucking go. That's my dude.
Right.
Let's go, Andrew. It's true, man. And so I want to talk about, when I'm really into stand-up comedy and how they tour.
Yeah.
And when you're with so many people for X amount of years and all of a sudden, boom, straight into solo. What was the mental health like? Were you lonely? Was it hard because you seem like an introvert. Was it hard to get friends out there? Like, tell me those years, how it was.
When I went solo, it wasn't a big grand plan. I just moved out to a barn in the country and fixed it up into a studio. And I thought, I'm going to make albums here with my band, and my friends are going to come out and we're going to make music. It's going to be, it's, won't have to pay studio time. And I had this whole plan, and I was like, oh shit, none of my musicians I play with have cars, so they can't come out to this. It's 3 hours from Chicago, and I was spending like 2 or 3 weeks out there by myself, not talking to anybody, and just working on. That's when I started doing the looping thing, and that was super important time. But I was not prepared for the isolation. Like, I am an introvert, and I do like solitude, but that was extreme. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm just talking to myself all day and just playing music all day. And then I would get at that point I scaled down to a Honda Element, and I would pack all my amps into the Element and my violins, and I would hit the road driving like 7-8 hours between gigs and just playing solo. And I would just I would load in a bunch of amps, because I have like 3 Fender amps that I play through.
Mm-hmm.
Whoops, I lost you there for a second.
Oh yeah.
Let me just turn this off, and it'll go away. Anyway, and then I would play the show, and then I'd run over to the merch table and sell as many records as I could and talk to people. And I'd put the cash from the CD sales or whatever in one pocket. And then I'd go settle the show with the promoter, and I'd put that money in my other pocket. And then I'd go back to the hotel, like draw the blinds and throw the merch money on one bed and throw the settled money on the other bed. It was like I was robbing banks. And then I'd, crash out and drive 8 hours to the next gig. And, I was doing pretty well, actually. I was a very lean operation. But I was, it was too much. It's just too much for one person to maintain.
Did you grow up frugal?
Solidly middle class. I mean, my parents would argue about how much groceries were, but it wasn't. We were fairly comfortable.
Yeah, because didn't you go to Northwestern?
Yeah.
And did you get a scholarship, or what was that like?
I got a scholarship to first I went to Illinois Wesleyan, and I got offered a full ride for the music school. And then I got there, and then the teacher the violin professor that offered me that scholarship said, oh, I wasn't really authorized to give you that scholarship. So they rescinded it.
What?
And it was very corrupt. And so I left, and I went from there to Northwestern. And, that was a better scene.
Damn, they hustled you like that. They probably did that to so many kids too.
Yeah, it was the guy was Russian, and so it was a kind of a bartering kind of corruption culture of like, look, he took my violin, and he said, "You drive a good truck," and he says, but he picked up my bow, which it didn't have like a label on it, and he says, "But your bow, no. We need to get you a better bow." So he said, "I'll sell you this bow for $6,000, and then I'll make sure you get the proper seat in the orchestra that you deserve."
Holy shit! It was a standoff.
Yeah. So I got out of there as quick as I could.
Have you seen that guy since?
No. He was funny though. He was. One time I played at like a school convocation, and I played the theme to the Civil War, Ken Burns Civil War series, which like paid my bills for the first couple of years. It's called Ashokan Farewell. It's just beautiful melody, and people loved it. And afterwards, he was like super jealous. He says, "All you want is applause."
You know?
My God. Now I bet now look at you now. I mean, your career is probably way more popping than that Russian dude. So fuck him.
No, he was in dire straits, I think. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is why he was hustling me. I
Oh.
think he needed the money. Yeah.
Didn't get that royalty money. I want to talk about. Do you think you learning the Suzuki method like helped you become the musician you are now? And give people the explanation of what the Suzuki method is who don't know it.
Yeah, it's still around, but it really swept the suburbs in the 70s in America. It's a Japanese method that where you're taught an instrument. Violin was the most popular, where the idea is you're learning it as you're learning language. You know how little kids can pick up foreign languages like that, no problem, because their minds are malleable and still forming neural pathways, so they can pick up language. And the idea is like, well, music is a language, so it should work for violin, this incredibly difficult instrument. And that was the idea. So you learn by ear in its purest form, and you have music in front of you, but it's just a page of notes. You're not really reading. And so it's kind of it's a mix of like Bach and Mozart, and then there's some folk tunes, and so it's kind of like an like a folk tradition, but with classical music, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so they kind of mold you, and you start when you're 4 or 5, and by the time you're 8, you can play pretty decently well.
Yeah,
and you haven't really you're not thinking of yourself as a musician per se. It's just this thing you do when you're a kid.
You're more thinking of it like a language, like it just comes naturally.
Exactly, and that's definitely it has a lot to do with the kind of musician I became. And but when I got to high school, I couldn't read a note, and then I was suddenly in orchestras where it gets more competitive, and you have to sight read, and my ear was huge, but my brain, the other part of the brain that like deciphers notes and what they mean, was not developed. So it was very stressful, but I would just my ear could always get things faster than my brain could. So I have if I hear it, I can play it,
Yeah.
Whereas classical music is set up differently, where there's everything's are preserved by notes, and people interpret the notes, and it's not like 100% creative endeavor always. It's like, how do you interpret Bach or Mozart or whatever, it being kind of trying to find what the composer intended. And when I was playing classical music, it's like you're kind of in this comforting world of like, oh, well, no one's better than Beethoven or Mozart, and we're just the sort of the flock that, the sheep that kind of keep the tradition going. And that's cool, but it just wasn't for me.
Right. And then, I mean, it must have helped you with harmony too, because with all the looping and stuff.
Yeah. Like the violin is an inherently linear instrument. You can usually play 2 notes at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to play counterpoint. I mean, there's like a Bach piece called the Bach Chaconne where it's 4-part harmony that you're kind of breaking the chords with the bow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as far as it goes. Otherwise, it's just meant to play this single line melody. But the looping opened that up for me, where I could play this sort of polyrhythmic pizzicato stuff. I could play bass lines that I heard in my head that didn't really conform to typical bass lines. I mean, it just opened up a whole new kind of possibility for the instrument. And I still use it. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see myself not using it.
Yeah,
it wasn't really meant to be like, oh, I'm replacing the band, I'm replacing an orchestra with looping. It's just like it's an extension of the instrument.
Yeah, and I love when you start your loops with the bass line on the violin. I mean, you got the right tone for it too. It's beautiful. What about linear? Like you sing, you could sing two notes too, can't you?
That I no, that's a Tuvan. Unless you do throat singing.
Yeah. Can you do that?
That's no. My drummer can do it. It's tough. But yeah, the violin and the whistle and the voice are all kind of coming from the same place.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get them mixed up if I'm really tired. Like, I'm supposed to sing and I'll whistle, or I'm supposed to whistle and I play. Or
yeah. It's so fascinating. I mean, you're so young when you learn this method. Who are the people pushing you to learn this method? Who were your inspirations when you were younger, or was your parents like pressuring you to become a musician? Or
no, not at all. If anything, they kind of kept me from getting swept up in it being too serious.
Oh yeah.
Like there was a couple that would take young kids and turn them into prodigies.
Yeah.
There's this whole myth of the prodigy. It's like a circus sideshow where they say, "Oh, look, this 6-year-old can play Tchaikovsky, and isn't that amazing?" And they just came out like this, And there's a whole kind of super, I think not super healthy, like world that turns out these super young phenoms. And they wanted to do that with me. My parents stepped in and said, "Nah, that's too heavy." So, but as far as that, yeah, I think until I was maybe 15, it was all just kind of just a thing I did that I didn't. It wasn't a drag. I enjoyed it relatively. But then around that age, you're a teenager. Everything else kind of sucks in life. And I'm like, well, at least I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, I'm going to be the best at this. And I got swept up in the romance of being like, I don't know, that they got all mixed up in the kind of drama of the teenage years. And that's when I was like into playing these concertos that were they're just, they're super challenging to play, and it's like the soundtrack to like, all my friends were listening to like Britpop from the 80s, The Cure, or it's a lot of 4AD bands and goth and whatever, and that had its own drama, teenage drama to it. Mine was like Dvorak violin concerto, and then I kind of got tired of the Western classical world and started exploring different folk traditions, and then jazz and early jazz, and that was a whole nother phase.
Did you ever feel like, because you didn't learn the traditional way of music, that you're like the odd man out when you're a kid?
A little bit. You mean the traditional versus Suzuki?
Yeah, like you said in high school, you weren't understood because you said your ear was big, but your brain was small, when everyone else's teaching was just basically being a computer and reading the notes instead of having this ear training. Did you feel like, because you knew you were a better musician than these guys, or maybe you didn't?
Yeah,
but...
it's crazy. Like when 6th grade music class, I got a C.
Fucking nuts.
But I came in and played a concerto at the end of the year for the class, and everyone's jaws hit the floor, but I still got a C. Like I just didn't. The way they were learning music was not music to me.
Can you say the same about modern education?
Yes. I mean, I had a hard time with public school and the tracking system and the testing. They basically determined that I was slow. I was like, because I was quiet, and they needed more kids to fill the like special ed programs. So they put me in special ed. So I was like reading at a super high level on my own, but I had to go down to the basement to like spell cat, you know. It was humiliating. They'd take you out of class in the middle of class just to heighten the humiliation. And then you'd go off to this room and they'd teach you stuff that, you know, it was just because there has to be, in public school, there has to be a quota of kids that are
Right.
gifted, a quota that are, you know, average, and a quota that are slow.
Yeah.
And I always got put in for politics or whatever reason. I was always ended up in the with the shit end of that.
Did that lower your self-esteem?
Absolutely, yeah.
Was it hard to find friends? Was it hard to like just be vulnerable with people?
Yeah, sixth grade was the worst. It was like I was getting beat up every day. I would end up in the nurse's office a lot. Like the kids would, I would get beat up by like 10 kids at once.
Why? What were they beating you up for? What was?
One thing was like I refused to say swears.
Really?
They're like, so they get around me and they're like, Bert, say shit. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be your monkey. I'm not going to say, you know, fuck you. I'm not going to swear.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I just got singled out for some reason, to be it was not good. So I got kind of I started to have these fantasies then in junior high of like, maybe adults really don't care about us. Maybe all these kids are actually robots. And I had this fantasy that I was going to like jump on one of the kids that was beating on me and like rip some, you know, circuit boards out of their chest and expose the fact that this has all been like a
simulation.
Sort of simulation. Yeah, exactly. And then they'd really have to kill me. But you know,
that's so wild to me because it does make sense why you're totally cool with just being by yourself on those solo years from the trauma of the middle school years and the high school years. Cause like you felt like maybe like, oh, I could just do this by myself because you've been alone. It feels like to me your whole life.
Yeah. I mean, even when I was in my 20s in Chicago and speaking of music scenes, like that was a very vibrant local scene. But I never really, I would kind of attach myself to different scenes, but I never quite fit in, you know?
Yeah.
And I would be with like the alt country people because they were, you know, I liked hanging out with them, or the indie kind of post rock, you know, the Tortoise scene that was kind of intimidating, and I didn't, you know, my music was sort of fancy compared to mid 90s Chicago.
Did you always have your nose up?
Yeah.
Were you a guy that have your nose up about other music because your music was so fancy, or you didn't realize it was fancy?
Did I have my nose up? I have this, in some cases, yes. Like I was coming out of music school and it seemed like the Chicago ethos was like, I don't care that my guitar's out of tune, or I'm just playing like, you know, brittle guitar through a Fender Twin, and it's loud as bombs, and it sounds, so austere.
Yeah.
That's what it fit the landscape of Chicago. If you see a back alley in Chicago in the winter,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
someone plays some typical kind of high strung post rock from Chicago, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it was very anti technique, and that was, I got it. I understood, because I wanted to unlearn a lot of things I'd learned, and I was working on that, and I wanted to play a rougher kind of raw type of music at that time.
Yeah.
But it was still, at the time I was mostly playing early jazz, 20s and 30s swing music.
Was this pre Squirrel Nut Zippers?
It's right around when I met them in my early 20s in Chicago. Yeah, right out of music school.
So
I was working at a Renaissance fair playing Irish tunes that would pass for medieval music.
And they saw you playing them, and they're like, "Let's join the boys," or what?
No, I went with the flute player and the dulcimer player from the Ren Fair down to North Carolina to play a festival where the Zippers were playing, and that's when I met them. And they needed someone to cover the trumpet part, so I learned it on fiddle and played with them and started. And then a couple weeks later, I was in New Orleans making Hot their second album.
What did you like? Why did it only last a couple years? Did you just feel it wasn't the right fit, or did you just want to move on?
I was kind of in and out of the band for a few years. It was a big band, 7 or 8 people, and it was very dysfunctional. I mean, it was fun. There should have been a behind the music on that band, because it was more rock and roll than most. There were so many rock and roll cliches playing out in that band. It was nonstop hijinks. And, I saw a lot of crazy stuff. And they had kind of a punk rock energy, a very physical way of playing a show that I dug. But it was not heading in a great direction, I think. So I kind of kept an arm's length.
What, musically or mentally?
Just politically within the band. It kind of imploded after a few years, and then I was trying to carve out my own thing, and it took me a few years to get out from under the shadow of that band and the associations and that fad that it was kind of associated with.
Yeah.
Of swing dance lessons and martinis and dressing up, and I was already moving on. I'd already moved on musically, yet I'd show up to a gig and they'd have a little plaque out front saying swing dance lessons with Andrew Bird. And we weren't playing that music.
Yeah.
And everyone was just unhappy, so it took a couple of years to get those associations, get away from them.
Yeah. And it's you don't want to be a niche, or a cliche.
No. And I saw it all happening, and sure, I like to pick up suits in thrift stores, and I like some of this sort of ambiance and cinematic quality of that, what was happening then. But I was also appalled by a lot of the music that was under that. It was just a lot of ska bands that saw an opportunity and switched to swing, and it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm a musician as well. We do, we toured 11 months a year still for the last 15 years, and I see a lot of transitions of like jam bands turning into bluegrass guys. and,
Sure.
and then vice versa. Yeah, I want to go back to when you were getting beat up a little bit, if you don't mind. I know it's what were your parents? What kind of advice were your parents giving you, or were they around? Were you afraid to tell them? Like, that's got to be pretty traumatizing for being a sixth grader getting his ass kicked by 10 dudes just because you wouldn't cuss because you were raised not to cuss.
Right. No, my parents were pretty awesome, except in a very short period of time in sixth grade when I really needed could have used it because my family was always like a refuge. So if maybe my family had been a little more messed up, I would have had to make it work at school.
Right. Yeah.
But or maybe I would have just really gone down the tubes or whatever. But they were generally like very supportive and loving. But for some reason, I decided to do a little tough love in sixth grade because I was getting such bad grades and I was testing really poorly, and they were like, "Well, you just got to toughen up,"
Yeah, but that's but it's like two different things. Like it's how your brain reacts to the education that's given them versus these people are just bullying you because they don't understand you. It's like, that must be like in your brain because you're a very smart dude and you've probably been smart your whole life in some aspects like that. You're like, what the fuck, right, mom and dad? Like, this is not why grades and me being bullied are two different things.
I don't know. Maybe they just didn't understand it. But yeah, it was just nonstop that year. I think a lot of people have trouble in that period, 6th, 7th grade. And yeah, I remember in that English class where they divided the class, like exactly half of the class would get an orange book. That meant they were smart. And the other half would get a green book. That meant they were not smart. And I got a green book and I had to be on one half of the class away from the orange book people.
So embarrassing.
And then it was like designed to humiliate. Yeah. And so I really developed a healthy distrust of institutions during that time. And but I remember during during that orange book, green book thing, sounds totally random, but I sneezed in the class and I brought my hand down and there was a giant centipede in my hand.
No
and
way.
I freaked
Is this
out.
real?
No, this is real. And I don't know, it might have been a daydream, but and I thought, oh, that explains it. That's why they think I'm dumb, is because I've got like an infestation of these centipedes in my brain or something like that.
Oh my God. That's insane, dude.
It's just like, it was one thing after another that year.
Oh man. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah. Fuck those kids, dude. I'm sorry for cussing, but fuck those kids. You are who you are because of them. I want to talk about, what's your fascination with science? It seems like a lot of your lyrics have this just like knowledge of science to it.
It's not like a deep, it's not like I studied it intensely, but I'm fascinated by like the headlines of science, like the big questions, the phenomena, the sort of crackpot theories, and that are I only am drawn to science in terms of like, oh, what is this story about how cells divide or how baby birds practice their songs in their sleep, or what does this tell us about what makes us human or what we're made of? And I just find it to be, I'm kind of drawn to like just these sort of archaic, weird things that I think it has to have like a human element to it, or serve as a metaphor for what makes us human, or what. Yeah.
What do you think makes us human?
Oh, I mean, this goes back to all the stuff we're talking about. Like, at some point, I remember being like maybe 18 or 19, and I had this revelation. I thought, wow, like we're all basically alone. We're all like contained within our bodies.
Yeah.
And, other people outside our bodies that have their own unit, they can make us feel like we're not alone for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, even in their company, it all comes down to you.
Yeah. You're
And
right.
I just had that, and not saying that the group, the comfort of the group is a total illusion, but it kind of is,
I agree, man. I'm like that too.
Yeah, it's like so I think about a lot about the individual and the group, and how people, when they get in groups, they feel invincible and more comfortable, and then they kind of lash out at anyone who's slightly different. It's all that playground in the petri dish, which is a line from the song "Mitosis."
Yeah.
It's just I've been thinking about these issues in almost every album.
Yeah, and I could hear it in the songwriting. The reason why I know of you is my sister played imitosis all day every day. She's a scientist. She's does a stem cell, and actually she wrote you a letter. She wrote you a letter maybe 15 years ago saying how she was perfect for you because you understood science and you understood all these things. That was extremely, I remember I went with her to give your tour. It was maybe, it's got to have been 06, 07. I was a senior in high school or first year. And we gave your tour manager her letter. And she was like, he'll probably never get it. But now that I finally get to have a conversation with you, I just had to let you know that
I probably did get it, and I probably read it. It rings a bell.
Do you have a lot of?
I get a lot of letters from scientists for sure.
What's the main theme of most of these scientist letters?
Just they tend to be like, when you talked about this in this song, I thought you were talking about this, and appreciate what you do, and it's cool. I really love getting that kind of. I get a lot of like artists that say I listen to your music when I'm doing my art.
Yeah,
it's just that it's that letting me know that it's been a companion for them.
Yeah,
just nice to hear.
It's fucking amazing, man. What keeps you inspired to keep trying to write music outside the box?
Well, I don't really think I'm going to write a song outside the box today, but every day I get up, there's a feeling that I could do something. Really different. I could do something exceptional today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's such a great feeling. Like, and I don't really have office hours for what I'm writing. It's not like, I'm going to work now. It's just every waking moment, sometimes half waking moments. I'm possibly working on something.
Right.
And they're like, the songs are, when I'm in that early phase of like writing a bunch of songs, it's like the best time, because it could be anything. It's all potential. And then the songs are such good companions. Like I'm never bored. I can just be delayed on a flight for 4 hours and just sitting there and just in my own head, or I could have insomnia for 3 hours a night and just pull out a song out of the files and tinker with it. And I feel lucky that I could do that.
Does it torment you having this much brain power?
Yeah, but without that, without a song cooking in my head, the torment is worse.
Explain that. Explain that. Is that just because we're not doing stuff we love at that moment, or is it? What do you think that is?
You know, that negative spiral that you can get into late at night, like that song, having a song has pulled me out of that so many times.
Yeah.
There's just, I don't know what it is, like, yeah, the nocturnal time of thoughts that can kind of feed on themselves. And with making this album, it was even more apparent than ever that I was taking all those voices and that chatter and like putting them to work.
Right. And like, do you think the chatter came more and more because of the quarantine and being home and just being stuck
For
with
sure.
your head?
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, I know a lot of people that need to have like a radio or a TV on at all times. Especially, my dad has to have the TV on all night, all day, just to know. I caught him once leaving a hotel room, leaving the TV on, even though he hates to waste electricity. Just to know that a TV was on somewhere.
Yeah.
Like rather than face, your internal voices, I think is the issue.
Why are we afraid of our internal thoughts, you think?
Most people, I mean, especially the velocity of life, most people just aren't used to it. You go out into the country and it's people that can't handle the quiet,
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I think it's just, we're used to such a velocity and a certain amount of noise, especially now than ever. And it's scary when it stops.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like even going back to what you're talking about, how we feel like even when we're in a tribe, we're alone. Do you still feel that way even with being married and having a kid? Like you still feel alone?
Much less so with the family life. Yeah.
How do you change your brain from thinking that when you have a relationship?
I don't know. It really has to be the right relationship.
Right.
But you have to go all in with it. Like, first you think, oh, I've got to preserve my autonomy and my own mental real estate, and it's okay to give that up. You're not really giving it up anyway. You still are a individual unit,
Right.
But yeah, the family life, I didn't realize how much it would suit me until I had it, Yeah.
It's fascinating. I got a couple more questions for you, and then I'll let you go. I know you're busy, man. You probably got a song in your head right now. Did you ever get into any substance abuse?
I did some serious experimenting around 19, 20, but it never really got out of control. I had one summer though where I my first paid music gig, I got a job playing at an opera festival in Arkansas and near Eureka Springs.
Like Fayetteville?
I know it was near Eureka. It was in the Ozarks. And so it was where they bus in like blue-haired ladies to watch young opera singers who were in training. So we'd play the same. It was like 5 weeks. I got paid $500 for 5 weeks total. Room and board.
It's like
and
summer camp.
Yeah, it was not even subsistence wages. And you'd play the same 3 operas every night. And my bunkmate was a serious pothead, and he would get big shipments of pot. He would, toss me the one hitter every morning. And I was 19, and I was like, I'm in a cinder block, barracks, playing opera every day
In Arkansas, in Ozark, Arkansas.
In Arkansas, but my memories of that summer are, I saw some things, and I'm not sure whether they happened or not. Like, I was at a party for a guy named Washboard Leo. He was like Freddy Krueger with like pickups on his gloves, and you'd play the washboard and with effects. And then there was a lion at his party walking around a bar. But I had my job, I was an assistant concertmaster, so I had to turn the page for the concertmaster every night. And so I had to really know what was happening. And after a while, I was like, I could not function. I could not know where to turn the page. And the concertmaster was like, what the hell is going on? Like, when you're just continually high for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
It's you kind of lose perspective. But no, to answer your question, no. And now that I don't touch this stuff, doesn't really suit my wiring.
No psychedelics for experimental causes, or
not for a long time.
Yeah.
No.
That's great. God, you're amazing. Andrew, thanks for being on the show, man. I really appreciate your time. I loved when you're dissecting your tunes during quarantine. You went back into the archive and did a lot of those tunes at your house. It was really just real special to see that. And I got one last question for you, and I'll let you go. When it's all said and done, and we turn back into star matter and shit, what do you want to be remembered by?
I'd like to just be remembered as a really good songwriter who happened to be unusually good at the violin, but the violin is kind of whatever. It's the songwriting that I'm most interested in being known as.
Well, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, you're one of the goats, and I really appreciate you, buddy.
No, thanks, man.
Well, have a great day.
Thanks.
And enjoy LA. I just played the Largo. I scored Judd Apatow's Great Depression, and Judd was talking I scored Gary Goldman's film for Judd, and he told me you played the Largo with him once, or he's a big fan of you.
Yeah, I did a bunch of his benefits at the Largo, and then I just scored The Bubble.
You scored The Bubble?
Yeah.
That was a great film.
Yeah, it was me and Mike Andrews who he brought me on to work on the score, and it was fun. Yeah.
And Fargo too. Did you score Fargo, or were you just in Fargo?
No, I was on the soundtrack. I a little bit, but I was just acting in that. Yeah.
Did you like that experience?
I did. It was kind of terrifying, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, when you're with all these heavy hitters, then it's the Birdman.
Seriously heavy. Yeah, Jesse Buckley and there's so many good people, and they just treated me like I was just another actor. They didn't really let me, give any excuses that I was just a musician.
Well,
it's cool.
That's awesome, man. Well, keep exploring yourself and keep thinking outside the box, and we'll be here rooting you on, buddy.
All right.
Have a good one.
Man.
Thanks,
good
Andrew.
talking to you.
Thank you, buddy.
Take care.
All right, there he is, Andrew Bird, the man. That was awesome. He's way too smart for me. He's totally too smart for me, but here we go. All right, I'll catch you on the tail end.